the meeting to order. Then we'll start with the pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll start with privilege of the floor. First name is John Ranchik.
John Rancich, 363 Hines Road. I've spoken to this board many times. You know that I'm a big proponent of the wind farm. I was the initiator of it back in 2002, thereabouts. And I just want to say to the board that over the past many years, the Black Oak Wind Farm has satisfied everything the board wanted and has conducted itself exemplary. There is nearly 100 of our neighbors that have invested in the wind farm, and they didn't invest in the wind farm because it's the best investment in the world, because it's not. They invested in the wind farm because they all believed it was the right thing to do. And these nearly 100 people have invested somewhere around $3 million, and they want to see this go. And the whole county is in favor of the wind farm, and it's just a great thing for Enfield. I mentioned last week that the town of Lowville has the richest school district in the state because of their wind farm. They have 195 turbines now, surely to have more. And it's just, I believe in it. I believe it's the right thing for us to do. I believe it's right for our energy program, and it's right for our tax base. It's right for our schools, and I believe that everyone will benefit.
Thank you. Rob Testori.
Good evening. I'm Robert Tesori, 570 Black Oak Road. I'd like to start off by saying, frankly, I'm surprised that we're here discussing any wind farm, anything just yet, because last Wednesday I know that it was passed, everything was going to be tabled till the next regular scheduled meeting. A couple of reasons. One of them, that as far as I know, Black Oak still owes a large sum of money to the town for the escrow account, and frankly, there shouldn't be any work done until that is satisfied. That's not one of those things that, well, maybe we should, it'd be okay with. No, that's a legal requirement with the Enfield energy law and the developers agreement. So I don't understand why we're discussing any of that. But the other issue that I had was the 5 plans that we are discussing. I know there's only 2 on the agenda for tonight. I don't believe they should be discussed separately. I believe they should be as a whole, because one little thing here, one little thing here, one little thing there doesn't seem like a lot, but then it all adds up. And if things aren't done correctly, we have to live with the consequences of it. So I'm urging the board to take the time, get the experts you need in, look through the language, make sure you are totally satisfied that all of this represents the town, that its residents are going to be safe. And I've talked to a lot of people all over Enfield and Ithaca, and most of you know that we have the most serious issue with one of the turbines being right next to our property, and it cuts through, the safety zone cuts through about 1/3 of our land that we pay taxes on. And that's not right. That turbine should be moved. I know it can't be moved. So as far as the going back to the original plan, I don't understand that either. And I was reading the invasive species plan the other day, and it says that there's going to be 200-foot construction zone around that tower. Well, as that one is sitting there and can't be moved, it's actually set for the 181 feet from the old turbines, the 1.7. So that means even if they put one there and it's 200 foot, they want to come onto our property, 19 feet, we're not going to allow that. And that's invasion of privacy. That's trespassing. We're not doing that. So that's why I say, I just urge the board to really take the time with this, make sure all the legal stuff is handled, is correct, and you feel comfortable with it for our sake. Thank you.
Jude Lemke.
Jude Lemke, 215 Connecticut Hill Road. First of all, I just want to mention that we have delivered to the town clerk a petition for a moratorium for the board to take 90 days to really collect all the data, all of the remaining documentation that's required under the law, and have time for the town to really read it and understand it. There's probably close to 170 signatures there, which we were able to collect in the last 2 days. So I think that demonstrates that there's a lot of concern. It also asks that nothing happen until Black Oak becomes current on all its fees. I wanted to just mention the town should not be issuing a wind energy permit until Black Oak complies with all the requirements of the application under the town law, which they've not done. They need to prove they have the consent of all the landowners involved to build the project that they are trying to build. And if you look at the town law, it's clear that you have the right to force Black Oak to do that. They have not provided the town, as required by the law, with full copies of all the leases, although I have given you a partial copy of Donnie Gunning's lease marked to show the fact that they cannot, as Rob mentioned, cannot move that turbine from that 181 feet, so they cannot comply with the 2.3 megawatt turbines under the provisions they're trying to get passed. Black Oak already has indicated that they're having disputes with landowners, which is why they've attempted to modify the project. So a letter from Black Oak saying that everything's fine is not sufficient. They need to prove to the town they have the right to build everything. You need to get all the leases from all the landowners, and you need to call NYSEG and ask them whether they can build a substation on leased property. I called them, they said no. And so they should not be, it is unacceptable for them to get a wind permit issued for a project that they cannot actually build under the law. And the fact of the matter is, they can't prove it because it's not true. The town's not obligated to issue a wind permit for a project that Black Oak can't legally build. They're just trying to get leverage so they can come back later, change the project. They should be forced to reveal what their true plans are. BayWa is the real party in interest here, as they have admitted in public. Then get BayWa in here and talk to BayWa about what their plans really are. Black Oak continues to be less than transparent in its dealings with this town and with its residents. If Black Oak refuses to comply with the town's request to get all the documentation showing that they could actually build the project that they're asking for, this wind turbine permit, then you should refuse to issue the permit.
Thank you. Dawn Drake.
Hi, Dawn Drake, 105 Griffin Road. I'm here tonight along with so many other concerned Enfield residents, completely confused as why the board is considering voting on topics related to the wind project when they're breaking the current town law as we speak. Black Oak has not submitted a complete application with the town or submitted any of the landowners' contracts, which it clearly states on page 6 of the town's local wind law. Under permits and permitting process, Section 1A, Part 2, at the bottom, an easement lease or any other agreement as such owner relative to the siting of the wind energy facility. It's clear they are supposed to submit this in writing to the board. It's only hearsay when the 7 turbines in the substation is going. None of you have actually seen legal documents to complete full layout of this project. Just what have they said? Has the disputes with the certain landowners even been resolved yet? Also, if I tried to apply for a building permit without paying for it ahead of time, I would be denied the permit. How is Black Oak any different? Black Oak has been making all the calls with this entire project. Why doesn't the town have a certain plan set up for them to pay back the money owed within a certain time frame or to be faced with certain consequences? The town should be making the calls when the money is due, not when Black Oak feels like paying it back, or saying they will pay it back when they are issued the permits. Since when does a town conduct business this way? Since when does a person or company override a town law? I also would like to say how upset it makes me, along with others, that Black Oak is saying they are pretty much requiring the board to decide all this in a certain time frame. This should be decided in the town's time, not Black Oak Wind Farm's time. Black Oak Wind Farm owes the town thousands of dollars in climbing, and it is direct contact of violating the local law. So why is the town even discussing voting on anything with this project? This project is being rushed, and you, the board, are being pushed to approve a plan that is being conducted illegally. Not to mention that once they eventually receive their permit, the company will immediately be sold off to Baywa, some German company. Where are they? Why hasn't the board or Black Oak invited them to discuss this entire project with? And to make sure they are committed to taking this project on. So I asked Black Oak this. We keep hearing this will be the first local community wind project for what, a few mere days? If you, the board, pass anything or issue permits to Black Oak Wind Farm now, with all the current problems, and without the permitting process being conducted right, without the board correcting these problems, first, you guys are directly setting up the town of Enfield for multiple lawsuits. And not just from one single resident, I'm talking multiple people. And they will have a very strong case against this town in this event. We cannot stress this enough. Please do not rush and then complete this illegal project through. And how many supporters of this project are here tonight actually live on these roads where these turbines are going? I can almost guarantee not one. These supporters and investors here tonight are all in favor of a project that will not have any effects to them once the massive turbines are installed. Thank you.
Thank you. John Carlisle.
That's me, I defer.
Jolie.
Jolie,
Sue Wagner.
we're gonna wait
Ann, do we have any way to help these folks get seating? Do you know if we have any other chairs anywhere? Alan, do we have any more seating anywhere, or is that it, pretty much? Chairs from downstairs, or?
There's more chairs downstairs.
Is that?
What can say here?
I don't know if these folks even can hear what's going on, that are way in the back here.
So, do 2 or 3 people want to go downstairs and get more chairs?
I can a little help.
Thank you.
Right, yeah. Downstairs in the,
There has to be a key.
Alan, do they have a way to get in down there, or?
Yes, someone
Okay.
has to have a key.
Alan says they have a way to get in.
Mike, if you want, I'll unlock it, people will bring chairs up.
I believe they've already gone downstairs to get chairs.
Okay.
I am just here. No.
Should we move tables up a little?
Sure.
Let them go.
Oops, you better. Take over. Henry, you want to open that? Sure. I'm gonna open that door and get a little pressure.
I know, every time I'm gonna bring that on.
Yeah, just right across the front. Thanks, Ray.
Thank you.
From the bookkeeper. Got this, this is from now. Looks like
There's lots of seats, come and sit.
I'll drag as many as I can with me,
I didn't add them up because I wasn't sure which ones. I didn't check it.
If you guys want to come sit, there's plenty of seats up here. No. We still okay, Cammy?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Thanks,
Okay.
Mike.
Thank
We're
you,
not
Mike.
up to the numbers yet?
No, 106, I cannot believe we could fit 106 in this room. I think that number needs to be evaluated. I'm saying, I mean, I just feel like we're going to this is like too many for this space, but. I'm nobody, so.
Thank you, Mike. To continue privilege of the floor, Valerie Rockney.
Hi, I'm Valerie Rockney. I live at 224 Rachel Carson Way in the town of Ithaca. I'm here to speak in favor of the wind farm. And I've been listening to what you're saying. I really hear you. This is my first time here tonight. I haven't come to these hearings and meetings and stuff before, but I've certainly followed it in the paper and was aware that there was a lot of controversy, a lot of unanswered questions, and a lot of frustration. The reason I'm here tonight, and it's a little nerve-wracking speaking in front of a big group like this, is to just, I guess, just say what's in my heart, and that is of trying to find a way to work together, because I truly believe that using wind energy and solar and insulating our houses, all this stuff, I know you're shaking your head. Please have the courtesy of just listening to me. Thank you. Thank you. It's hard enough. You can't hear me?
No, then direct yourself to the.
Oh, thank you. It's, I feel like it's so important that we find ways to work together. The future is coming, it's here. I just had a nice brief talk with the firefighter lady about the cooperation between the fire departments with the low water in the city of Ithaca. I feel like we can do that with energy also. I feel like there's got to be a way to resolve some of this stuff, because using wind, using solar, insulating our houses especially, I just had mine done this summer. It's so important and it's so practical. So that's my plea. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. Ray Stiefel? Stiefel. 50-50 chance.
Yes, 50-50. I don't want to turn my back on anybody. Yeah, Ray Stiefel, 336 Rachel Carson Trail in the town of Ithaca. I'm also very conflicted about this. I'm a huge proponent of solar and renewable energy, but I also feel very hurt that the process has led to people not having a choice. And that really bothers me. And that's something that has to be looked at. People need to have a choice. You've invested, you've put your heart and your work and your backs into your homes, and they shouldn't be compromised in any way. And the value should not be compromised in any way. That's a big mistake. On the other hand, I think for the people now in North Dakota, under whose sacred lands, these ugly pipelines are going, and that was wrong. So,
Sacred is a beautiful word.
Sacred lands. These are their ancestral lands, and we treat it as if it's just nothing but dirt. We have to have a different process. The renewables are the future. That's true. We call fossil fuels fossil for a reason. We have to move forward in that direction, but we can't be compromising people and their homes and their lives and their children in the process. So what do we do? I could say very easily that we all have to sacrifice, but it's easy for me to say. It's not my home's value that's being compromised by this project. All I can say is my heart is with all of you, and I hope we do better in the future, because the future belongs to the children, and the children have to have an energy source that is sustainable and clean and provides jobs. And I guess that's all I have to say, and I'm sorry we couldn't have done better.
Thank you. Melinda Testori?
Hi, my name is Melinda Testori. My husband spoke earlier. We live at 570 Black Oak Road. We're not against green. We have geothermal, which we've mentioned several times. We compost, we recycle, we do what we need to do. And for somebody to say that we can't have a piece of our property when we've saved 15 years just to put down a percentage isn't fair. It was mentioned to me not too long ago that, excuse me, I have a hard time speaking. When the second proposal came through and the turbines were going to be moved, that we were out, and we absolutely were. But our reasons for staying in and fighting were the same, because now you're trying to do it to our neighbors. It's not fair as a community, which we are, that we stop fighting because we were out, and then our neighbor has to put up with it the same way we would have. Now it is going back on us. Our fight is still the same, and we won't stop until we get some answers. We brought our kids today because I think it's only fair that people, they get to do and see what people say. And a week and a half ago, people said this was going to be put off, and I don't think it's fair that it wasn't. So we need to do and say and show at the same time. Thank you.
Sue Schultz.
I'm Sue Schultz, I live on Black Oak Road. I found this on Facebook, but I thought it was worth sharing. It's actually a letter from Marguerite to the Enfield Town Board. I don't know if Marguerite, you'd rather read it, or I can, but.
No, I'm actually glad for you to.
Okay, thanks. This was sent last Saturday to the Enfield Town Board, and again, I found this on Facebook. I bring you this proposal, I'm sorry, dear Enfield Town Board, I bring you this proposal to try to address your concerns about neighbors who might be affected by turbines and want to leave. It seems like that's the fundamental concern some of you share. Black Oak is in a tight spot time-wise, and I'm sharing this because I feel like if you haven't seen this, you should probably be informed. If we don't get our wind energy permit in by mid-October, the project will likely be dead because other factors run out of time. The wind energy permit, not the building permit, which comes later, is what we need to close on the financing for this project, which is what gets the town paid back promptly and allows us to eventually build the project. I know you feel threatened by potential lawsuits from both sides of this issue. Jude has openly threatened to sue the town if you approve the project, and others have implied that Black Oak might sue the town if we are turned down. I'm not sure if you know this, but if Black Oak or any of its 150 investors sue the town must pay all of its own legal bills. If Jude sues the town, Black Oak would pay the bills for the town. Thus, a suit from Jude resulting from you approving the project is much less costly to the town than refusing our permit or repeatedly delaying Black Oak and risking a suit from us. I don't think it's just Jude who's threatened, but. So in order to accommodate the word neighbors on the one hand and still get this project built before it dies for good, I put this proposal in front of you. First, at the next town meeting, let's hammer out the 5 plans you got a couple of weeks ago. Let's add bits in as needed and let's approve them in amended form and move on. Second, let's make this neighbor compensation plan a condition of the actual building permit, not the wind energy permit, which comes much earlier. That ensures we get it done before we can build the project. It gives us time to hash out the neighbor compensation plan's details. Third, please direct the town clerk to issue us the wind energy permit, following approval of the 5 plans. This will allow us to close on our financing from Baywa, if I'm saying that correctly, get the town paid back and the escrow topped up again, and the project can get built once all the other conditions for a building permit are met. Here are some potential ingredients for this neighbor compensation plan as a starting place for discussion. There are lots of details to work out. This is just a list of some points. Black Oak will make up the difference to a landowner up to 80% of assessed, not appraised, value offered by project, between assessed value and best sale price obtained after 18 months on the market by a licensed realtor. Within 5 years of the wind farm going in, only parcels within 1,500 of project leased or owned land. Funds come from the Good Neighbor Agreement funds, not committed to neighbors under the agreement, plus voluntary contributions from Black Oak investors, any member of the public, and any neighbor interested in canceling their Good Neighbor Agreement.
15 more
contributing
seconds.
their annual payment.
15 more
to the buyout fund is
seconds.
welcome to do so.
Finish.
Finish up, please.
Town of Enfield will contribute its $45,000 in host community agreement funds. If no more funds are available 1 year, a given sale transaction must wait till the fund gets topped up again the following year. As always, please feel free to reach out and discuss these ideas by email or phone or drop by my house. This is just a draft outline of something that Twinell has
Time.
never been done before.
Thank you.
That it? Thank you very much, Sherry.
Marcus Gingrich.
Marcus Gingrich, 101 Rumsey Hill Road, and I'm not one my property is immediately near the turbines, but it is very close enough that I'm very concerned for my 4 children who would be in the vicinity of the wind turbines basically 24/7 because we homeschool. A lot has already been said about some of the problems. I don't understand why we're here either. I don't understand why we're even discussing these plans if Black Oak still owes a large amount of money. No wind energy permit should be considered at all until that fund is paid up. No more cost should be incurred. Also, based on this letter that we just heard, I would make sure that you get that in writing, that Black Oak is going to defend the town in a case of a lawsuit. Because we know that they're not trustworthy. They have not shown that to be the case anywhere, any time up to this point. There's two plans as action items tonight. I wrote down a bunch of comments. I mean, I wasn't prepared really because this rather suddenly came up that there was a special meeting, which interestingly we had to find out through a newspaper report. I have a lot of comments, but a couple of them that I would like to highlight. The decommissioning plan, when I read through it, there are many, many, many items of things that are supposed to be done. What I don't see in there is any homework as far as what that would cost, and therefore how much the town should be requiring for a decommissioning bond. Black Oak was supposed to do that as their homework. That never happened that I'm aware of. As far as the landscaping plan, one of the things, oh no, actually, let me go back to the decommissioning plan. One of the things mentioned in there is there's a substation. But we're not gonna decommission the substation. Black Oak is not. The question I have is, why is there no plan for that? That is not ours, we don't have to worry about it. They're responsible for bringing it in. Then they should also be responsible for delineating the plan, what's gonna happen after the project is over. There's nothing of that. These plans are very, there's not much to them. The landscaping plans, if you look at them, it talks about assessing the current condition of vegetation. No plans on how that's done. I mean, okay, do you take photos? There's no record of that. How are they gonna record the current condition of the two wind turbine sites that have already been excavated prior to permitting?
Time. Thank you. Susan Moulter.
Susan Moulter, 15 Penny Lane. Several years ago, I went to the wind farm in Madison County in the town of Fenner, and it was really quite thrilling to stand there under these big, sleek, elegant-looking turbines that we learned were not scaring away the cows. They were sleeping under them, not scaring away the farmers. They were plowing right up to them. Of course, they told us about the one accident right up front, but because you have one accident, like in a car or an airplane, doesn't mean you stop doing what you were doing before. I think the most interesting thing I learned there that day was when we were standing in the backyard of a farmer, and for a minute you'll think this is not relevant to the discussion tonight, and he said, you know, there's a stream at the bottom of my property. You can't see it, but it's over there. And my grandparents used to use the water flow to turn a wheel to generate electricity, and it didn't hold on to the water kept flowing, the farmers downstream and downstream did the same thing, and they were creating electricity. My point is, the more electricity we can generate through wind, water, solar, biomass, whatever, means the less electricity that has to come from coal or oil or gas. And I would like to pick up on the gentleman who spoke first very eloquently about the future. And that if we don't want the people of Pennsylvania, for example, to keep suffering from the air and water pollution and the health problems that come along with drilling and fracking and venting and flaring and all those things, we need to do something else. And we have the opportunity right here for Enfield and Tompkins County to be a leader, to be thinking about not just our children and grandchildren, but the next 7 generations, and doing something that is good environmentally and health-wise for the planet. I hope we will do that.
Thank you. Bill Wright.
Hi, Phil
Hi.
right here, 435 Black Oak Road. It's kind of like what everybody else has been saying. I guess you're moving the turbines away from the back of my house, which is a good idea. The only thing I want to say is I was in touch with the DEC today, the Wildlife, U.S. Wildlife, and the Attorney General's office. They're supposed to be getting back in touch with me tomorrow, and I told them they should do some investigations. Thank you.
Thank you. Tammy Ailing.
Seems we were here just a couple weeks ago for the motions on the floor that the board was supposed to decide on. There's also a motion that night to address these plans at the next monthly meeting. I don't think this is it, but okay. So all parties could read them, understand them, and get more information as needed. Yeah, here we are at another meeting when this still is 2 weeks away actually, when we're supposed to be talking about some of these things. The letter to the board from Marguerite is unbelievable. Many people probably wonder why I'm here. Sorry, 203 Hines Road. I'm not on Black Oak or Griffin or anywhere near the turbines. Many people probably wonder why I'm here with the people that live in the area where the turbines are going. My family has land near there which will all change, although we will all be affected. As I drive down Route 13 from the airport from my job and come down the hill, I can see the cell towers and wonder to myself, how much taller will the turbines be? Because we all will see them. We'll all be able to see them and be affected. The homes in the area, some might see them, but most might not. It's been family owned for generations up there. How do you buy some of that? As the letter stated from Marguerite, the memories and family time are too valuable for money to buy. Some will never understand that. They just buy property and just sell it, not a future home here. As for the future, or for the fire emergency plan, well, it's not on the agenda tonight, but it should be. One person knows how costly this project's gonna be. Chemung County Fire has seen an increase of calls from their turbines, which means the fire company will have to respond to many more calls, which will only add to the burden of this district and the fire people like myself. Last year alone, we had over 300 calls. That's almost one a day, with many people responding. This will only add to the burden to our district and costly, as trucks will have to respond to each call, and responders will have to leave their homes for many of these calls. Therefore, a fire company cannot wait for someone from somewhere else to respond, as it's the duty for the town, for the fire company to respond. It's the duty for them to respond to the town, let alone there is no viable water supply up there as a source in the area. As far as contracts go, wow, I lost my place. As far as contracts go, I've only had a few myself. I did learn on those few that you want to have everything down on paper, otherwise people do not have to, they're not obliged to anything on it. Your job is the people of the town, not the people that are here as investors, to make the decisions with their safety in mind, not adding to the burdens. As adding to the burdens to your volunteers in the district like myself. I would also like to know where all the safety concerns and comments went. Aren't they supposed to be done? How can you make the decisions when they aren't even done? Lastly, Enfield is on the map, just so you know, we're already here. Trust me, all the small towns and companies like this are watching us to see how many other towns they can come around and take over, like they have almost done here. Your safety is in your hands right now, the town people.
Thank you, Tammy. Mimi Mahaffey?
Mimi Mahaffey, 115 West Enfield Center Road. Well, so much to say, so little time. I kind of want to know who wrote these plans. Was it Black Oak? Was it Onyx? Was it Baywell? I bet a lot of experts had a hand in it. I'd like a lot of experts to have a hand in looking at it from our perspective and whether it protects this town financially, environmentally, health-wise. I'd like them to look at the decommissioning plan, an expert. No, you did a great job, Michael, in coming up with a number, but I'm not sure that's on your resume. I'd like it to be on somebody's resume. And I'd like experts to be looking at this with our interest in the line. And if of course, that costs money, and we don't have any money, and we have even less money because Black Oak owes us, I don't know, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. So we can't hire an expert to look at it. Oh, but we're supposed to pass it. If we give them the permit, we have no leg to stand on. It was the same with the fracking. Once, if we didn't put a moratorium in place and eventually a ban, before the state lifted their ban, and energy companies came in and got permits, now they have now they lose some money, now they have a loss, and they can really sue the town. And it's Baywell that's gonna sue the town, and they have very deep pockets. So you can't issue this permit until every detail is worked out, every detail, before you issue the permit, the wind permit. That's all I have to say. If experts don't look at this, then I don't see how the board can say they did their due diligence. I would almost say you're being reckless if you pass any of these without experts looking at it. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony and Graffia. Brian Riddle.
Ron Riddle, 235 Harvey Hill Road. So it's kind of an interesting turn of events for me because, you know, I'm a musician and composer, and most of the time I spend in the studio. When this was sort of just on the horizon with Plan 1, Plan A, I heard about it and I thought pretty much like some of the people who've just come tonight for the first time, which is like, green energy, I love green energy, I'm for it. I've been for green energy for the last 4 years. So, but then the plans changed. I had 3 turbines right, you know, in my vicinity. And I started looking into it, and it was, you know, it was really disturbing. You know, the health possible problems, the flicker thing, you know, all these things that, you know, are definite health problems. So, but what's interesting is now the Plan B has, I mean, it's gone back to Plan A now, apparently, but who knows if that's getting switched around. Who knows what? But, you know, but I haven't lost momentum in this fight because I know what, you know, what could happen. And, sorry, I'm kind of emotional about it. And I'm not gonna throw the other people who are gonna be living right next to these under the bus like it seems so ready the town board or Black Oak is willing to do without any sort of, you know, regard to these people. And I'm really tired of this bullying that Black Oak seems to get off on, with bullying the board. All of a sudden, we're jumping to another tune that they're singing when we're not even supposed to be here. But all of a sudden, oh yeah, we're gonna push this through now. Of course, we don't get that email, do we? It's just that time after time, the underhandedness, the lying, and the deception of Black Oak is just beyond something that I can deal with. At any rate, John Ranchett started out by saying the community is behind this. Well, I'm here to also say people that were big supporters at the beginning have signed this moratorium for me. I had 2 hours to basically get signatures, and I got 14. Of those, I've got Julie Schroeder. I also have Judy Hyman and Jeff Klaus. So these are people that have been supporting, and
Thank you.
saying that this is, you know.
We gave people the respect us too, please. Thank you.
You get the idea.
Is there any more sign-in, Frost?
Yes,
Is
I
there
do.
any more sign-in? Privilege of the floor.
Maria.
Anyone I'd love a chance to, I didn't get a chance to sign in, but I would like to respond.
Beverly Gingrich.
Marguerite also wants to be on there. Yeah.
Beverly Gingrich, 101 Rumsey Hill Road. Yesterday, I was thinking, is this an effort worth fighting for? I was getting a little tired of it, to put it mildly. All the evenings we've had to spend away from home. And a couple hours later, a friend emailed me a link to some testimonies of some people that live in the Shirley Wind area in Glenmore, Brown County, Wisconsin. And that is 9 turbines, 2.5 megawatts that were installed in the fall of 2010. In the spring of 2011, people started expressing the adverse health effects they were feeling. Headaches, nausea, heart palpitations, things like that. It so happened that for 3 days in July of this past year, from a Monday to part of Thursday, the turbines were shut down, presumably because of maintenance on the substation, because there was no electricity going to the towers either. The red light on the blades was not on. And the people suddenly realized they were not experiencing these adverse sensations. And I would like to read 2 of the 13 letters if I have time. From July 25th to July 28th, 2016, the Shirley wind turbines were turned off. During this time period, my health increased dramatically. Prior to the wind turbines being turned off, I had various health issues. I've had headaches that would last for hours and would only subside when I would go in the basement. I've had to sleep in the basement on a temporary mattress due to sleep disturbances from wind turbines. When I would sleep in my own bed, the turbines would wake me every 2 hours and in some cases would keep me awake at 4 a.m. for an hour to an hour and a half. This lack of sleep started to disrupt other areas of my life where it was affecting my job and mental alertness. I've had nausea, vertigo, and tinnitus at times within the past 5 years. I've never had any problems with my ears or any other physical condition that would have caused this. During the time that the wind turbines were off, all of my symptoms went away. I could finally sleep in my own bed. I slept less and woke up earlier with more energy throughout the day. It was as if a great weight was lifted off my shoulders. I was more coherent and able to think clearly throughout the day. I didn't have any stomach or headache issues. And I will say that of the letters that I've read, they are about 1 mile to 1.5 miles away. So if some of you people who are supporting it, you watch out, you might be affected too. Another letter. Prior to the wind
30
turbines
seconds.
being turned off, my 3 sons had various health issues. Michael had difficulty sleeping, experienced heart pain and anxiety attacks, both of which would go away as soon as he left our property and area, and stomach problems. Alexander would have headaches, stomach problems, and wake up tired. Lance would have severe headaches, stomach problems, and wake up tired. During the time that the wind turbines were off, all of the symptoms for my 3 boys went away. And the woman I spoke to today told me that testing has been done, and infrasound and low-frequency noise has been tested in homes up to 4.2 miles away at ranges that the Navy has declared to cause say it for me,
Nauseogenicity.
which would be the
Causing
nausea that airplane pilots feel when they're flying flight simulators. So, you know, you might say, I don't live in the vicinity. Why?
Time. Thank you. Maria Ortez,
Hi,
your address?
717 Black Oak Road. Miss Ryder, I think that this project or business is going to be a catastrophe because you have so many people full of rage and anger and are causing the town to be disturbed where they can't even be friends with each other because if one is for it and the other one is not. That is not your job to make people feel like they need to be pressured into projects that you want. Miss Ryder, I have here
a workbook that I printed of 107 pages of your job for us. You belong here. And I dare you to step up from that seat and stand with your people as you took an oath when you took this job. I dare you, miss. I dare you, Miss Ryder. Come with us. Come on, Miss Ryder. Why don't you? I need to know her name. I don't know her. Can anybody introduce me? I would like to speak to people. Nobody even let, the last time she tried to speak, they walked out on her.
We all have
What kind
name
of
tags.
zoo is this? Miss Ryder, your job is to keep us safe, to be courteous, to treat members of the public and help build confidence among taxpayers we serve. Do your job for us, not for no turbines. We don't need these issues and problems. Please, sit over here. Sit over here. Why can't you speak to me and tell me, why can't you be for us when you took an oath? You took an oath and you broke it. You broke it. You treated your people wrong, underhanded and dirty. This lady over there, hi, how you doing? What's your name?
Virginia Bryant.
30
Virginia.
seconds.
Maria. That's all right. That's all right.
Thank you. Marguerite Wells.
Marguerite Wells, 863 Hates Road. I just wanted to address a few of the issues that people have raised here tonight, as best I can anyway, in 3 minutes. On the idea, on the subject of money owed, Black Oak does not owe the town $60,000. I learned today we finally have the tally in from the accountants. It is $20,000, and we will get that promptly paid. We already paid $30,000 in the month of August, and $10,000 of that was wrongly issued to us because that was the cost of Jude's FOIL request, and Black Oak does not owe those dollars. So now we have a true tally, and Black Oak can get that paid. Black Oak has been paying the town's bills, accounting and legal, steadily for 5 years. We've not been late, so to suddenly axe us right now seems a little unfair. We have good credit with the town. As relates, there's another thing that I think there's some confusion about. There are two separate permits here. There's something called a wind energy permit, which is a general approval, and then there's a specific building permit, which is a specific thing when we have actual engineering designs, and that's when you can do things like measure setbacks to a property line and make sure it complies with the law. 200 feet is a general round number that is used to describe the general circumference around a turbine that is usually used. But if, for example, you have a property line, or in the case of Mr. Gunning's turbine, there's also a set of woods there. We're not cutting down the woods. Our work area would be in an open field. The 200 feet would be in the open field, not on somebody's property line. Those are the kinds of details that come out in the construction drawings previous to a building permit. That is not done at the wind energy permit level, as per the town law if you read it carefully. Okay. Additionally, I'd like to mention, since there's 170 signatures on some petition here, that there's a petition that I don't think most of the town has seen, but that Alice Litton is in receipt of back from May. 400 signatories in the town of Enfield, residents of this town who are supportive of the project and of it getting built immediately. So just because they don't turn up at every meeting doesn't mean they're not supportive Enfield residents. Additionally, as to what you were saying about fire plane calls, if you actually understand about the calls some fire departments get regards wind turbines, it's not accidents and damage with wind turbines, it's people saying, I heard a snapping branch. Maybe it was a wind turbine. And they call the fire department and someone has to truck out. But it is not actually an injury. If you talk to the fire departments in Steuben County and in Lewis County, for example, which Mr. Ranch has mentioned, 195 turbines operating for 10 years. The only call they ever had was one drunk snowmobiler ran into a wind turbine. That is it. So it's not a giant burden on the emergency services people. What else is on my list here? As for the negative compensation plan, apparently y'all aren't pleased with that, but I was trying to propose something that might actually solve the problem we seem to have, which is people
Solve the problem by leaving.
One
concerned about their
person
property
at a
values
time.
and their health if those are real concerns of people, we're trying to put
Solve the
forward
problem by leaving. Take your people out of here, of Black Oak. We didn't ever wanted to, we never signed for you.
That
Get a job, girl.
even though this has never been done in the wind business in
They're a
this
bunch of
country or
criminals.
anywhere else, we are trying to come forward with a compromise plan that there is just, there's not much money in this project. As you've heard, there's not a lot of money running around. It's not like we can just throw money around buying everybody up. But we're trying to come up with a compromise that uses the funds that we have and uses anybody else's voluntary donations plus the money we have plus some town money maybe to make a way that people can leave without taking a giant financial hit. If you don't like what we've proposed, let's discuss it. I have put in front of the town board a letter of intent saying, we will definitely do this neighbor compensation plan before you issue us a building permit. That way you hold the building permit
Time.
over our heads. And by the way, the 5 plans have been on the website for 3 years. They are not new.
Thank you. I called this meeting. Oh, Jolie would like to exercise her right to speak.
I deferred for a little bit here. My name is Jolie Carlisle. I live at 463 Black Oak Road. I'm not even sure where the turbines are going anymore because it's changed so many times. At one time I had 3 of them around my house. I don't know if I still have one or not. I am all for green energy and doing whatever we need to do, but I don't want one right in my backyard. There's plenty of open space up here on this hill. They shouldn't be near homes anywhere. When this plan was originally proposed way back, 10 years ago, John? It was gonna be up on the top of Connecticut Hill in this wide open field, and there wasn't gonna be anybody's houses that were affected by it. I don't know why and how that all changed. But now, like I said, there's supposed to be, at least last I knew, at least one within the vicinity of my property. And I have been on that land for over 20 years. I don't want to leave that land. My kids don't want to leave that land. If there's any issues with health or distractions from the blades or the ice throw or any of that other stuff, I'm going to be forced to give up something that I've worked 20 years to build. It started as a vacant piece of land, a field that nobody was using. And we put our blood, sweat, and tears into that land. And if you people, all you investors that don't even live up here, want these turbines, find a place near your house and put them in your backyards.
Yeah.
Keep them out of mine.
There's a lot of wind in Cuba Heights.
Thank you, Jolie. I called this special meeting as I have a right to do within 72 hours notice, mainly because I asked the board if they would like to see the budget prior to me handing it to the town clerk. And I got enough reply that I thought that I would call this special meeting. And also, we have talked about 2 of the plans, or all of the plans. I went back and reviewed the motion that was made last 2 weeks ago, and the town clerk, who is the official note taker, states that Councilperson Miles moved with a second by Councilperson Bryant to defer action on the Black Oak Invasive Species Act, the Black Oak Wind Farm Fire and Emergency Plan, and the Black Oak Wind Farm Community Relations and Dispute Resolution Plan to the next meeting. There was a vote, and this motion was passed. So 3 of the plans were in the motion. 2 of the plans were not in the motion. We have talked about both these plans, and so I put them on the agenda. I was wondering if the board had some thoughts on how to proceed here with getting some business done. It's been suggested to me by a more experienced supervisor that sometimes boards agree to limit the time that each board member speaks and to add amendments which have to be voted on separately before the basic motion is passed. Is there any interest in?
Explain the amendments thing, I'm not sure that I understand what that.
Well, resolutions that are put on the floor can be
Right.
amended.
Right.
Robert's Rules of Order says that you vote on the amendment first.
Right, and the
that up or
benefit there
down.
is saving time, is that what?
I don't know what the benefit of Robert's Rules of Order
So
is.
the benefit of the amendment procedure in using it?
One could get to action.
So by putting an amendment on something rather than speaking about it, it would let us vote on something that somebody's saying sooner? Is that what it is? I don't know that that makes a lot of sense to me. Somehow, it's formalizing a process of communication which doesn't really help the communication process any better. It just kind of, it shuts off the thing and then says, okay, we're not gonna talk about this, we're just gonna vote on it. I'm not sure what the benefit is there to me, because the communication part of it is really the significant happening. That's what we wanna do and not so much be voting on everything. I don't know, I'm trying to envision long-term what this would mean in terms of how we would deal with things. I'm not seeing a real plus to it is all.
Well, another thing I wanted to have a conversation about, and this is not an actionable item. I've gone over the wind farm law with Frank Pavia, and my understanding is there are two parts to this final process. There's the board's general acceptance of, we already have accepted the findings of fact. And my understanding is that there are 5 plans that need to address the concerns in the findings statement that was passed in January of 15. When those general plans are passed and the board orders the town clerk to issue a wind energy permit, that is a step in our wind law that is not apparently in too many other wind laws. There is the final step of building permits, and those are, I would assume, on quite a larger scale than building plans for a house. But between the issuance of the wind energy permit, there is another period of time, unspecified time, to issue a building permit. And haul routes, letter of credit,
Plats.
invasive species survey, a landscaping plan, and how they're going to restore the land, have to be submitted to the code officer. And he has to sign off on them prior to the building
Well, they
permit.
actually have to be They have to be submitted to the town board.
Yeah.
Because you can't even issue a wind energy permit until those are in place.
See, that's not my understanding.
That's what our law says. So. That's what I said. They haven't even finished the application yet. That information is supposed to be delivered to the town board in the process of applying for a permit. They haven't finished the application yet. You want to go over the law together? I'm happy to do that.
Yeah. Now, I just saw you had part of the permit. I saw you flipping through. You had part of the permit. There in your pile.
You mean,
No, that's the developer's agreement.
you mean from Black Oak?
Yeah.
You need a copy of it. That one.
Oh, maybe it's here.
This application?
I
Yeah.
have an extra one
Yeah.
here, definitely. Just, a minute ago, but, that's the resolution.
That's not always. Yeah.
I have one. Should we do it out loud, or what do you think?
So you've got Article 2 is still definitions, right?
Right, Article 3 is application requirements.
So, I asked the clerk to produce the permit. How many pages is it, Alice?
Not when you asked me to do that.
No, I didn't. Why?
Oh.
What would be the logical reason I didn't ask you to do that?
I don't know.
You don't know how many pages it is, or approximately how many pages it is?
This
You
that
know
we
how-
have right here?
Well, I know how many pages this is, but
So, how
my
many pages?
understanding was that this is not the whole permit.
So what's the question? I don't understand.
I asked the clerk,
Right,
how many pages is in the permit?
well, a permit would just be a piece of paper that says yes, right? Yes?
That's not my understanding.
Well, you tell me what it would be then. What does the permit consist of?
Well, the part I took was the tax parcels, the lighting plan, the landscape plan.
Those are application. That's in the application for the permit. That's
Yeah.
not the permit.
Yeah.
The permit is something that we issue.
Yeah.
The application for wind energy permit, not the permit itself.
You want to know how many pages are in the application to the wind energy permit? As many as they need to produce in
No,
order to do it?
our.
The one
Ours.
the one that was submitted was around 188 pages.
That was my recollection. That's my recollection.
Okay, so where are we going to go from there?
So when you talk about an application, that's what I'm talking about.
Right, that's great. Good.
And so what part of that do you feel wasn't made out?
Okay, let's go to section 1. This is Article 3, section 1. Okay? This is
Of the
wind
law. Of
This
the
is
law.
Right. It's A, number 2. The name, address, and telephone number of the property owner of the proposed site of any wind energy facility. That would be Black Oak, I think. If the said owner is not the applicant, oh, sorry, that wouldn't be Black Oak. that would be all the people that have turbines on their property. If the said owner of the property is not the applicant, which is Black Oak, the application shall include a letter or other written permission signed by such property owner that confirms that the property owner is familiar with the proposed application and authorizes the submission of the application or an easement, lease, or other agreement of such owner relative to the siting of the wind energy facility. Now, that information may possibly be in the original application. However, my concern is that right now, we have a situation in which one of those owners says that they did not agree to the substation being put on their property. I mean, that's my latest understanding. Things change quickly, but my latest understanding is that the owner of the property where the substation is supposed to go, or shown to be on the application, does not agree with this and is not legally bound to put the substation on his property. So to me, that impacts this paragraph number 2 and says, where is the letter from this owner, property owner, that says that they agree to have the substation on their property? I would need to see that letter to know for sure, and I doubt that's on the application. A letter saying, from Rich Teeter saying, I agree to have the substation, to lease the property in such a manner that NYSEG will be happy with it, or to sell the property to NYSEG. If it's there, I'm sorry, it's my mistake for not knowing, but my understanding is it's not there. So I would need to see that before I would want to proceed on section 1A, paragraph 2. So that's the first one. You want to go on from there or not?
Yeah.
Okay. Landscaping plan, we have, great. We haven't approved it yet as a board. So as far as the landscaping plan goes in the application, we haven't given an approval on that. We were hoping to get to the point where we could approve that, because we didn't know enough about it, though. We asked Labella to give us more information about it, or to do their thing about it, which is in our information tonight. But this is the first I've seen it. I haven't seen it other than tonight. I assume it wasn't available other than tonight.
You were given the landscaping plan.
No, Labella's response to whether or not, which is what we agreed at the last meeting, we would do. We would ask for some expertise,
Yes.
both on the invasive species plan and on the landscaping
Yes.
plan, from somebody who has more expertise in that area,
Yes.
which was Labella,
And
and they did respond.
And
However,
you didn't get an email yesterday.
there was no email to me yesterday. I've been reading all my emails every hour for the last 3 days, and there's been lots of them, but there's no response from Labella.
Till a written copy tonight.
Till a written copy tonight, yes. So I would definitely need to look at that and read it and have time to at least think about it before I would want to vote on a landscaping plan, certainly. Decommissioning plan, we've talked about that quite a bit, so we should be getting closer, certainly. And if we wanted to deal with the decommissioning plan tonight, I would be happy to read it over and talk about it and see if we're ready to vote on it. That's next up. Complaint resolution plan. The application shall include a proposed complaint resolution process to address complaints from persons who live in nearby residences. The process may use an independent mediator or arbitrator and shall include a time limit for acting upon any complaint. And I'm gonna note there, shall include, and I'm gonna note time limit, and I'm gonna note acting upon any complaint. We have no complaint resolution plan that does that at this point. In fact, I haven't seen one that's even close to doing that at this point. You want to go on from there? Fire protection plan. This is Article 3, Section, I think it's still Section 1, and it's C5, and this is on page 10. And the way it reads in our wind law is a fire protection and emergency response plan that, one, complies with the Tompkins County All Hazards Mitigation Plan. And that's a sticking point for me right there, because I have seen nothing in their fire protection plan that references that Tompkins County All Hazards Mitigation Plan. It may well be perfectly in compliance with it, but I would need to see something that says,
Okay.
we've complied with it, here's the relevant situation.
Tonight in your, this isn't on the agenda.
Right.
In your packet tonight is 4 pieces of paper. And the title is Fire Prevention and Emergency Preparedness Plans for Black Oak Wind.
Right.
It's in your packet, right?
Yes, it is, definitely, yeah.
I have had the wind farm's proposed plan looked over by Lee Shirtliff, who is the Director of Emergency Preparedness in Tompkins County, and Brian Wilbur, who is
Fire chief.
on his
Not
direct
anymore.
staff
Right, gotcha, okay.
at Emergency Management.
Right.
You can't tell what additions they made because the town does not have a color copier that's available to me. But the 4 pieces of paper that you were given tonight have been added to by
Right.
Lee Shirtliff
Gotcha.
and Brian Wilbur, and have been,
Is it the light print?
well, I believe some of it came through as light, but it's certainly not.
Can you tell me if either Brian Wilbur or Lee Shirtliff is in a position of responsibility for the Tompkins County All Hazards Mitigation Plan? And if so, if they are, would they be willing then to write a letter that says this fire prevention and emergency preparedness plan complies with the Tompkins County
Okay.
All Hazards Mitigation Plan?
All hazards mitigation plan.
And it's referenced as that on our wind law, so I'm assuming it does exist. Maybe it's something that doesn't exist, but I may
It
have
doesn't
some-
exist in the town of Enfield.
No, it's a county thing. Yeah.
Because it's in a notebook. Sure. They did offer to weigh in on any particular questions.
Okay, great. That would be great. And it would just be helpful to have a letter from them saying that
A
it
letter,
does comply, yeah. Because then we would know for sure, and we would have done our due diligence in relation to that one.
Yeah, part of doing our due diligence is having these things in.
Okay.
I think I may have
So
missed-
that's the concern about the fire prevention plan.
That's my concern about that one, yeah, definitely. Let's go on from there.
So you're more concerned about Rich Teeter's lease re the substation.
Well, it's one of my concerns,
Oh.
definitely, yeah. I mean,
But
we
it's not.
can't really give them a wind energy permit based on putting their substation on Rich Teeter's land when he is unwilling to put it on his land and legally is not required to put it on his land. And that again would not be in keeping with our trying to live up to the law that we made, basically. Should we go on to the next one?
Yeah,
Okay, this is page 11 and
11.
let's just say page 11 at the bottom, I. Well, after I, okay. Well, let's start with I, okay?
Seeker findings.
Yeah, let's start with I. If a positive declaration of environmental significance has been issued at the completion of the seeker review process and an environmental impact statement prepared, the town shall issue a statement of findings, which statement may also serve as the town's decision on the application. Well, we haven't made that into our decision on the application, so then we go on. Next paragraph, application decision. Upon receipt of the recommendation of the county planning board, where applicable, the holding of the public hearing, and the completion of the seeker process, the town board shall issue its determination upon the application within 30 days. My thinking on this is that, although it doesn't say it really clearly, we can't really issue a determination on this. Well, the 30 days hasn't started because we don't have a complete application yet. That was my thought about that. So I do have concern about the 30-day deadline because the law says we should issue something within 30 days. But I would think we can only issue something based upon a completed application, and to my mind, we don't have a completed application at this point. We're missing the things that we just talked about. So then, I actually would like to go on from there into section 3, which to me is pretty significant as well. Issuance or denial of wind energy permits. Upon completion of the review process, the town board shall, upon consideration of the standards contained in this local law and the record of the seeker review, issue a written decision with the reasons for approval, conditioned approval, or denial fully stated. If approved, the town board will direct the town clerk to issue a wind energy permit upon satisfactions of all conditions for said permit. So we could think about issuing a permit and say all these conditions have to be fulfilled. I'm not sure why we would do it that way. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It seems to me we would issue the permit when the conditions are fulfilled. That's kind of what it's asking us to do. But that language is a little bit fuzzy to me. I think they didn't do it well. And then we'll further direct the building inspector to issue a building permit upon demonstrated compliance with the Uniform Fire Protection and Building Code, the applicable energy codes, other applicable codes, and other pre-construction conditions of this local law. So what we're saying here is that, again, really fuzzy ideas in my mind. We're saying we're going to issue our permit, and then we're going to hand the whole thing over to our building inspector, and then he's going to issue a permit, but he's going to look at the issues that he has to deal with as a building inspector, which is uniform fire prevention, applicable energy codes, all the codes that he looks at as a building inspector. He doesn't really have anything to do with the wind law and its enforcement. He doesn't have anything to do with the seeker hearing or its results or conditions. He only has to do with issuing a wind permit. I'm not sure why we would pass this off to him at this point and put him in charge of making sure that all the pre-construction conditions of this local law were met, because that's not his job. That's our job to do. So again, it doesn't make any sense to me that this last paragraph is really confusing to me. And as a result of being confusing, I really wanted to go back to try and understand the intent of the people that made this law. They made the law, they voted on it, they approved it. So I went back and I read the resolution. This is Resolution 2009-10. Resolution adopting Local Law 1 of 2009, Wind Energy Facilities Local Law. And this is the resolution that allowed them to adopt this law in place.
This is July 8th, 2015.
This is the resolution that actually adopted the wind law, which my problem with the wind law is that the language is a little bit fuzzy. So usually when you take a situation where somebody has made something and you go back and read it, this is what the Supreme Court does with the Constitution. They reinterpret aspects of the Constitution that aren't clear or that may not relate to present day situations. That's their job basically, and that's why we go to them, yeah. So to me, this is similar in some ways, although not completely, with going back to the original Constitution and us being the Supreme Court and saying, okay, let's see what these people really meant to say. So I go to page 2 under number 1, and
small 1?
Yeah, the small 1, yeah. And it's I don't know how much to read of it, but I'm happy to read as much as we want. The NYSERDA data cited by the Tompkins County Department of Planning in support of greater setbacks is at best equivocal. The Tompkins County Department of Planning failed to explain its rationale for suggesting a different setback other than general supposition about needs for greater community support. Further, the setbacks set forth in the proposed local law are within the range suggested by NYSERDA, and the Tompkins County Department of Planning seems to have ignored these portions and provisions of the proposed local law that signify that the requirements of such local law are minimum requirements such that the setback, among other requirements, may be increased to mitigate potential adverse impacts during the application, permitting, and future seeker review processes. Then we go on to page 3 at the bottom. Whereas the concerns of the Tompkins County Department of Planning were duly considered, but it is noted that the Tompkins County Department of Planning failed to explain its rationale for its recommendations. And it is further noted that the Tompkins County Department of Planning failed to identify how or in what manner the issues raised concerns about potential negative countywide or intramunicipal negative impacts. Thus, the town board, as lead agency, declines to accept the recommendations of the Tompkins County Department of Planning. And basically what the Tompkins County Department of Planning said is your setbacks are too small. That was in.
You know that they made.
I read their report, yeah, what they said about it.
Did you read the subsequent report?
I read the initial report that they gave to these people before they did this, yes.
Did you see the Tompkins County Planning Department's subsequent?
I haven't seen a subsequent one, no.
Well, perhaps before you go too far, you
Well,
should
this
avail
is what
yourself.
our law was based on, Ann.
That's
This is
right.
not something that somebody's done. This is what our law is based on.
That's right.
And this is what we are a board meant to do. So let me go on to say this. Thus, the town board, as lead agency, declines to accept the recommendations of the Tompkins County Department of Planning as the comments provided relate to the proposed local law, as the listed items of concern are already adequately addressed within the said local law and the permitting process, and the proposed local law envisions mitigation measures for the issues raised, and further, many items would be reviewed at the time of application and under any seeker reviews as to project approvals and permit issuance, if any. And whereas the concerns of the county only raised 2 recommendations for actual changes to the proposed local law, but as to the same, the county has failed to clarify or identify how or in what manner it believes the issues identified may or will have negative intercommunity or countywide impacts. It is also noted that as to setbacks and noise issues, the proposed local law, this is our law, envisions minimum standards that may be increased through the permitting and application processes, as well as the future review of the site. Thus, the site or future environmental impacts may well require setbacks or noise restrictions greater than the minimum standards set forth in the proposed local law, an issue that the county did not address. So that's what the people that made this law, that approved this law, thought they were doing.
Well, then I don't understand why you aren't very interested in what the county planning department subsequently said.
Why do you think I'm not?
You are.
Of course
Good.
I am, yeah.
Good.
Are you interested in understanding what the town board that approved this law was saying about how it should be implemented? Do you understand what they're saying in this? They're saying that that law is just a basic idea that we start with, but if we feel like we need to do something differently with it, which is just what Guy Crow said when he told me that section 3 over here says we can do something different, then we should do something different.
But we have to have real scientific evidence.
We don't have to have what you quote as real scientific evidence. There's nothing anywhere that says we do. And for you to tell me that there is such a thing as real scientific evidence, quote unquote, there is so many different people doing so many different surveys and studies and everything else, and all you need to do is come up with a pot of money and give it to this guy over here and say, this is the result I want, and you will get that result. So if you want a survey that says wind farms are great, you'll get one. If you want one over here that says they're awful, you'll get one. There is really no way for us to tell which is true at this point. We, in my mind, have to take the middle road and say, it might be true. It's possible that it is true. So how can we protect the people who live close to these wind farms in a way that actually will give them some level of assurance that they're gonna be protected? How can we do that? Because we don't know, there's no way to know right now what's gonna happen. The lady over here read the information from Wisconsin. I gotta live in my basement, I can't stand it, my kids are sick. I don't know. To me, I've read a lot of those things online, and is somebody making them all up and putting them online? And what's the reason for it? How are they benefiting from that? I've read a lot of things that said no problem. I've had people come into these meetings and they talk to me for 3 hours afterwards and say, there's no problem, all those studies are just bunk, hocus pocus, there's nothing to them. I can't really believe anybody anymore because nobody is really doing their homework on these things. And even if they did, the homework is gonna be black is white and white is black, and how are we gonna tell? The only solution I can think of that we can do right now is to figure out a way to protect the people that live there so they have some recourse in this situation. And we have not done that. Black Oak has been unwilling to do that for the last 9 months. We've asked them to do that in the wind farm advisory meetings. We've asked them to do it here in these meetings. We've asked them to do it in phone calls and privately and out in the parking lot. And every time we've gotten the answer, we're a corporation, we can't do that. We won't talk to you about that.
My understanding was that all of you received a proposed dispute resolution.
A proposed
Dispute resolution plan.
the community outreach and
Yeah.
resolution plan. There is a new one that Marguerite just put out, yes, it's true. It is almost irrelevant. It has almost no meaning in terms of resolving disputes and actually doing something towards saying we will resolve these problems. If you want, we can read that too and we'll go over it.
That's not on the agenda. That
Okay.
plan isn't on the agenda. I have asked Frank Pavia for a weigh-in on that, but I'm not finding it in my piles of papers. But it's not on the agenda tonight.
Well, I won't say anything about it then.
I will get the subsequent statement from county planning for the next meeting when we are talking about the dispute resolution. So you have the fire protection plan to review for the next meeting.
Is this a new version of the fire protection plan? And when was it made new? Because we got one 2 weeks ago. Is it different than that one?
Okay. I'm gonna take a deep breath. Black Oak submitted a fire prevention and emergency preparedness plan for Black Oak Wind Farm. Subsequent to that, I sent that exact plan to Lee Shirtliff, head of emergency management in Tompkins County, and Brian Wilbur, who's on staff at emergency management. They went through Black Oak's plan and made additions and corrections to it. I have provided that to you tonight. Unfortunately, the town does not have a color printer
what?
available to me.
All I need, Ann, is a date. If you just had a date on this thing, then I would know when it was made, and I would know what's the most current one. If any of these things are dated, and none of these things have dates on them. I have 7 different decommissioning plans.
Do you want to hear the date?
I'd love to hear it, yes.
9, what was Monday?
27.
Monday?
Today's the 28th.
26.
26. 9/26.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
So does that mean the town residents haven't seen this one yet?
It's available tonight, I believe.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Well, then,
So
it'll
it's
be
out there.
around. It is not on the agenda for action tonight.
Can I just say a word?
Sure, Michael.
I'm disappointed after the last meeting, that the intent of my motion was to give time to review these documents for the next regular meeting. And I realized that maybe I should have been more specific on that there were all 5 documents and not just the 3 that they applied to. It was also my intention that would also give time for notice to go out to Black Oak to request payment from Black Oak. So I'm surprised by, as well as many others, that these things are on the agenda tonight. I guess I wasn't specific enough when I made that motion.
I'm in agreement with what you're saying.
So to that end, I'd like to create a new motion to, 1, direct the town supervisor to send an official notice to Black Oak Wind Farm requesting payment for any outstanding balance, plus an additional $15,000 to replenish the escrow account per the developer's agreement with the town of Enfield. Said notice shall be sent within 5 business days from the approval of this motion. 2, stop any further review of the wind permit process by the town of Enfield for the Black Oak Wind Farm that will incur any additional costs to the town until all outstanding balances plus the additional $15,000 are paid in full per Part 1 of this motion. 3, cost exempt from Part 2 of this motion are future legal costs that may be incurred as a result of the town of Enfield officials seeking advice from its attorneys, specifically Frank Pavia and Guy Crow.
Say that again?
3, costs exempt from Part 2 of this motion are future legal costs that may be incurred as a result of the town of Enfield officials seeking advice from its attorneys, specifically Frank Pavia and Guy Crow. In other words, I won't leave that on the table. We need to talk with our attorneys. 4, this motion shall take effect immediately upon approval by the town of Enfield board. I'd like to put that motion on the table.
Second.
Yeah, we'll discuss this. I have gone through the accounting for Black Oak, or for Harris Beach. And this afternoon at 5:30, I did get a communication from Kathy Spencer regarding the part of Labella's bill that regards foil. But and so, as of August 30th, the escrow account is in arrears of $19,526.17. It is not hundreds, tens of thousands of dollars. It is $19,526.17. There's no question that the escrow account is in arrears.
Our previous numbers that we had seen around were closer to 40,000. That's a pretty significant change, from 40 to 45,000. That's a pretty significant change. What has been excluded from that number?
I want to talk about that.
Foil.
So there was $20,000 worth of FOIL request? Wow.
Yeah, but I don't believe they should be excluded. In our developers agreement, it says any and all reviews by the town and its engineer and attorneys, the cost and expenses thereof, excluding any outside of Tompkins County travel time, and all other reasonable and necessary expenses of the town, including but not limited to the publication, posting, and mailing of notices shall be conducted or incurred by the town when appropriate, based on either the request of the developer, the town's determination that the project requires such action, expense or review in order to obtain the approvals. Such determination of what expenses are reasonable and necessary shall be made by the town in its sole discretion, but shall not include any out-of-county travel time. Such reviews and expenses and any money spent in relation thereto shall be referred to as the review cost, which Black Oak is supposed to pay. So, to me, a Freedom of Information request regarding Black Oak is part of the reviewing of the project, and I don't want to pay for it out of my taxes, and I don't think the town should have to pay for attorneys reviewing FOIL requests if they're directly related to Black Oak.
And certainly that if the application for the wind permit were not in place, these FOIL requests would not exist, as they are specific to the FOIL request regarding Black Oak and this process.
Yeah, so
Well-
Ann asked Guy Crow, and Guy Crow has
I
some-
did provide that to you.
yeah, some legalese. I can read that. I say that the duties of the town to respond to a FOIL request are general town duties that arise by law, regardless of whether there was an application or an environmental impact statement or a supplemental environment impact statement process pending. The town would still have to answer. Thus, such expenses did not strike me as inherently related to a review of the developer's application. Additionally, they are citizen-based or committee-based requests, and the source of the expense belies that this expense was incurred for the developer's benefit. Reasonable minds can disagree, but just be careful not to disagree yourself into a corner and then have to explain this to a judge or to the Committee on Open Government. Yes, the developer's agreement gives the town a leg to stand on, but one leg is a precarious perch when those opposed to you own chainsaws. Safest course is to work out some amount by agreement and liquidate the liability, particularly if the town has exceeded the 1/2 of 1% rule, and I'm not sure what that means. I have real doubts that the environmental impact statement regulations can be trumped by a developer's agreement. And when you get into the position of trying to defend something that is more akin to revenue raising and not a developer's fee or expense.
So,
But
so even though we would read it in one way, Guy, our attorney, sees it another way.
well, he
I
says to
think
be
he's saying
careful.
You can see it either way if you want to. He's just trying to be prudent.
Did anybody read the Ithaca Journal on Monday?
Which article?
Ithaca City School District.
And they said,
They are paying $20,000 in legal fees for a resident of the school district was foiled information because of some actions of their employees.
But they didn't have a developers agreement.
No? No.
Totally different animal.
Well, I believe there's a big principle here. It's a duty that municipalities and school districts have to,
Well, to some degree, but the way that the guy put it was, it strikes me that, and when you say it strikes me that it's obviously he's showing us that his own mind is somewhat looking at both sides and saying, I mean, the guy's well known for looking at both sides of everything and telling you both sides of everything, and that's his job. It's not his job to tell us we can't do it or we can do it, but he's certainly leaving it open enough to say there are two sides to this issue, and I can't tell you that you're gonna win either way, you know, that you're gonna win by giving him a hard time, or that you're not gonna win. So I think with that in mind, Henry, that kind of leaves us saying, okay, where do we want to go from here?
Well, do we vote on whether to bill Black Oak for reviews related to their project, even if it's a FOIL request? Apparently there's, I mean, it says here, sole discretion of the board. And it also says any and all reviews by the town and its engineers and attorneys. And it says in the bill, review, FOIL request.
Right.
So those are reviews, and
Yeah.
they're related to the project.
Good question.
so there's a motion on the floor.
$20,000 question.
Well, it is, it's a significant amount.
There is a motion on the floor, yes.
I would.
We're discussing the motion.
But we don't know, we haven't decided how much to bill them.
But I think we have to at least come to some conclusion. We may decide at a later date that that amount is billable, but at the very least, the undisputed amount. And I will amend, my item 1 to include the undisputed amount.
The what amount?
Undisputed amount. In other words, the 19,000, whatever that number was, 526.
526.17.
Well, that's not undisputed, in my opinion, but.
Right, but there's additional amount that is in question.
Black Oak hasn't disputed the 19,000, I think, yeah.
So I think that part that
Yeah,
we think
I'm with
should
you.
be billable needs to go out along with the $15,000 that should replenish the escrow account.
So 34,500 and whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever that total is.
Can you read back the motion again?
Motion to, 1, direct the town supervisor to send out an official notice to Black Oak Wind Farm requesting payment for any outstanding balance plus an additional $15,000 to replenish the escrow account per its developer's agreement with the town of Enfield. Said notice shall be sent within 5 business days from approval of this motion. 2, stop any further review of the wind permit process by the town of Enfield for Black Oak Wind Farm that will incur any additional costs to the town until all outstanding balances, plus the additional $15,000 are paid in full per part 1 of this motion. 3, costs exempt from part 2 of this motion are future legal costs that may be incurred as a result of the town of Enfield officials seeking advice from its attorneys, specifically Frank Pavia and Guy Crow. 4, this motion shall take effect immediately upon approval by the town of Enfield board.
I have another point of discussion. Back to my understanding that this is a 2-part permitting process. There's issuing the wind permit, permitting the wind energy permit, and there's the final building permit. you don't think that we have some much more leverage with the building permit
This,
to have everything in order?
this mainly addresses the financial implications. This does not stop the town board from talking about it, because talking about it does not incur those costs. Where those costs incurred when we go out to Labella and ask for professional advice and other things like that, that will incur future costs. And those costs have been building up, and we haven't gotten paid for them yet. So I think we need to.
We haven't gotten reimbursed.
We got reimbursed, so I think we need to fill up that. And this has been going on all summer. We've been talking about this almost every single meeting. I mean, it doesn't stop us from talking about these documents.
But you don't want action on it. You don't think it's enough leverage to not issue the building permit?
You know, we can continue this process when the accounts are paid in full. We can get the expert advice and pay for the expert advice when the accounts are settled. Right now, this is putting the town in an awkward position by having this large outstanding balance.
Any more discussion?
Mike, can you outline maybe for me the difference between the wind energy permit and the building permit? What, if the wind energy permit is approved, do we still have the ability to negotiate decommissioning plan, dispute resolution plans, or is...
I think our wind law is faulty in many areas, and particularly in this area of the permit, the wind energy permit being approved. It mixes up the building permit, which is Alan's responsibility, and his responsibility is based on 3 or 4 different sets of regulations and requirements that he's responsible for. And then it puts him in the position, or it tries to put him in the position of saying, okay, but I can't do this until you've done all the things that the town board has asked you to do. He's not in a position to say whether they have complied with the restrictions or requirements that the town board has asked them to do. That's a town board issue for them to decide on that. Being that's the case, that throws this back into the town board's hands in terms of the decision to be made. If the town board has already made that decision and saying, okay, we give you the wind permit, all you need now is the building permit, we've just put ourselves in an impossible, it's like one of those Escher drawings where everything goes up and everything comes down and there's no way to get to anywhere, basically. We put ourselves in the position at that point of saying, we have no say anymore in the wind energy permit decision because we've given it away. We've given the responsibility of complying with the conditions that we made for the wind energy permit to be approved to somebody that's in the position of only approving the building permit, who has no say at all in the conditions that were made by the town in terms of giving the wind energy permit. So in my understanding, although it's a very convoluted situation, our best choice in this situation is to not approve a wind energy permit until all of the conditions that the town wind law is asking for have been met. Once those are met, we can approve the wind energy permit, and it's very simple. That's all that needs to be done.
And I think you raise a good point that, we have an obligation as a town board to make sure that, our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed and review what does the law say and look at it and make sure that those things have been done.
That's what I think, too.
So you want the letter of credit, the hall routes, all the architectural plans prior to approving any of these plans?
I want what the wind law asks for.
Yeah, that's why.
Very simply, I just want what the wind law says they have to do. before we vote.
But that's sounding to me like the letter of credit, the haul routes.
Well, if the decommissioning plan is approved, and if they agree with the decommissioning plan and say this is acceptable to us, if everybody agrees with that, and we know that that decommissioning plan is in place and they will do all these things, then we can decide that that decommissioning plan is acceptable to pass through. And, you know, we can say, yes, this decommissioning plan is done. That's what the town wind law asks for, is a decommissioning plan that we approve. It doesn't say that that money has to be in the escrow account to start with. It just says that decommissioning has to be approved. But it also says that all these other plans have to be approved, the community dispute resolution plan. Those all have to be approved before we approve the wind law, or the wind energy permit, sorry. That's my understanding of what the law says. Is you do all the things that it says you do, and then you vote on yes or no, or maybe.
I was hearing from people that, you know, let's see all 5 of those things together and be looking at them, not piecemeal.
And it does allow you to vote conditional. It says you can approve, you can disapprove, you can vote conditional. But to vote conditional on a permit that is so incomplete that it has 5, 6, 7 different areas of not clear language, not a good understanding, not even an agreement in principle of how you're going to deal with something, as in the community dispute resolution plan. That to me seems like you're really putting the cart before the horse. Why would you make a condition of that if it says in the first place that you have to do the plan? I mean, that's just saying, well, let's push everything out there in front of us and see if we can trip over it, which will likely happen when the time comes. From my understanding of the reading of the dispute resolution plan, it's not even close to what I would feel personally Black Oak needs to provide. So for me to say it's a condition that you have to figure out a good dispute resolution plan and then get it to me, why wouldn't I do that now? What benefit?
But what does that have to do with the decommissioning plan?
The decommissioning plan is part of the agreements that have to be approved before we vote on the wind permit.
Yes.
It's just one of many.
Right.
Right.
5.
Well, there's actually more than 5 things. There's quite a few in there. They may not be.
Well, let's get them
plans
out
per se.
now so that
Well,
the project
we
can
just
know.
talked about it. I read the whole thing, and we don't know where the substation's gonna go. That's not a plan, but that's on the wind law, and it says we gotta have the permission of the owner of the land, a letter that says, you can put the substation on my property. And we don't know. I don't know that that's true. I know I've heard from Black Oak saying it is true, there's no problem. I know I've heard from the homeowner that says it isn't true, and there's no problem on my side, it ain't gonna go there. I don't know if that's the most current information, but I know that's what I'm left with right now, and I don't know where to go from there. To me, that goes back to this section of the wind law that says, you have to get this figured out, and we don't have it figured out yet. We don't know. We don't know where that substation's gonna go, and that's critical. If that substation has to move, that means that whole new supplemental draft environmental impact statement that we have to do.
I think this is beyond just 5 documents. I think there's a wind law that requires certain things to happen. One of them is a submitted application, and the developer did submit an application. To give some context for this, back on April 14th, 2010, the town board voted on whether the application was complete according to our wind law.
I assume they did.
They did, but let me read a paragraph, well, it's a large paragraph, that pretexts that in our minutes from April 14th, 2010. Frank Pavia explained the application was originally submitted in December 2009. The application was not determined to be complete at that time. A supplemental submission was made by the applicant that contained additional information and was discussed at the February 10th, 2010 town board meeting. The supplemental application was then reviewed. A memorandum was submitted to the town board from Harris Beach showing that some studies and information is lacking, but the board has been advised that this information can be submitted at a later date, particularly when a draft environmental impact statement is prepared by the applicant and submitted by the town board for review and assessment. As long as the applicant realizes that more information will be needed at a later date, Harris Beach is prepared to recommend to the town board that the application is substantially complete for the purposes of continuing the review under the wind law and commencing the seeker review process. That recommendation is conditioned upon the fact that those remaining pieces of information would be provided as part of the draft environmental impact statement as part of the seeker review. Once interested and involved parties have been notified of the resolution, they will have 30 days, and it goes on.
That sounds to me like really bad legal advice. That's what it sounds to me like.
It's
Yeah.
basically saying, yeah, there's some things missing,
Yeah,
you
what's
can
the
say-
heck, let's just do it
but you can
and
say it's
get it done
complete.
with it.
Well,
Yeah.
it was complete with the understanding that there's gonna be additional information that needs to be supplied.
But only in the seeker process, not in the actual process of
Right.
submitting it to the town in relation to the wind law. They're two very different things. They have to comply with the seeker process. They also have to comply with the wind law.
Right, so Article 3, Section 2, Part D, Application Completeness Review. The town or its designated consultant shall, within 30 days of receipt by a town clerk, determine whether all information required under this article is included in the application. Such determination is not to be construed as an approval of any materials or submissions. No application will be considered until determined to be complete. If the application is deemed incomplete, the town or its designated consultant shall provide the applicant with a written statement listing any incomplete information or missing data, forms, and other material information. No application fees may be refunded for any reason. No additional application fees shall be required for supplemental submission unless the project material changes or the number of proposed wind turbines is increased, which means that, yeah, it's complete, just like a seeker process. You can say this is a complete seeker application, but it's not necessarily approved. There's additional things that will need to happen and be approved.
Oh, what a tangled web we weave, is that what it is?
I'm just reading straight from the law.
I know, yeah.
And I was like everyone else, now that the seeker, we do have a final finding, on the seeker process. We determined.
We do, yes.
We do have that, so
Yes.
that's one of the items, part of the
Right.
wind law review process to
Right.
get a permit. But it's not the only thing, and I think we need to make sure that we've done all these things. We've dotted our i's and crossed our t's on this. There's interesting things which I thought, I'm not sure whether this happened or not, so people can correct me, but in the same section, Article 3, Section 2, Part F, the town board shall thereafter promptly consider, this is regarding a public hearing, the town board shall thereafter promptly consider and review the application. In addition, the town board shall schedule and conduct at least one public hearing upon the application. So, and it goes on. Whether, there were a lot of public meetings with regard to the seeker process, but whether that included a public meeting with regard to the application itself is.
Public hearing.
Public hearing, yes, public hearing is questionable. I don't know, maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. I haven't gone through all the back minutes to determine whether that happened or not.
Public hearing on application.
Public hearing on the application. Article 3, Section 2, Part F. I don't know whether, it may be that happened. I don't know.
And then, Mike, regardless of whether the hearing happened, you don't think that the application is complete because there's not copies of the leases?
I don't think the application is complete because of many different things, most of which we talked about when I read the law with you just a while ago. There are many areas in which I don't feel it's complete.
One of them is
One of
You
them,
want
one of them
copies of
is-
all the leases.
No, I don't necessarily want copies of all leases, although I think it's within our rights to ask for them. But I would like to know where the substation is going.
You want to see the lease regarding the substation.
Well, I want to see something regarding the substation that actually tells us in a manner that we can be 100% sure, if that is really possible, that the substation is going to go where it was originally planned to go on the original EIS that got approved, and that's where it's going to be. So we know that there aren't any significant changes to what's going to happen. And Black Oak has said, we're going to go back to the original thing, and it's going to be exactly the same as the original thing. And that's great. If that's the case, then let's deal with that. But I don't know that I'm dealing with that yet. I have to understand for sure in my mind, and I have enough concerns about it.
So is that
to know.
a piece of paper?
Is it a piece of paper? It could be anything that proves it to me. It could be the man who owns the property standing there in front of it and saying, it's gonna go on my property, no problem. That would be fine. And then I would ask him a few questions, and I say, do you understand what NYSEG requires in order for it to go on your property? And he might say, well, maybe I do, maybe I don't,
Well,
whatever.
we're not into storytelling tonight. please.
Well, this isn't storytelling. This is people understanding what they're saying. And we have been through this for a year now or more of people coming up here and saying things that they don't really understand the implications and the depth of the meaning in terms of what they're talking about. That's why this is such a mess, because we're just not.
Yeah, we hear a lot of things. And
It's
I think
really, really
what you're
complicated
asking
stuff.
for is
It's
for
very-
confirmation.
it's
that
very complicated
is for
stuff.
actual proof and confirmation that these things can go where they are, where are they going, and do they have the proper approvals to.
Okay, I
to
believe
lease
there's
it
a
to
motion on the floor. Is there any other discussion regarding the motion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson Miles?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Okay. So that passed, so I guess, there's, you're saying that, this agenda, is not going to be done, is that what you're saying?
I did not say that specifically. I say anything that will incur further cost.
Well, I'm going to go on and move that we accept the decommissioning plan. We've talked about that, I propose this resolution, whereas a predecessor in interest of Black Oak Wind Farm, the project sponsor, filed the site application with the town board in the town of Enfield pursuant to the town of Enfield's Wind Energy Facilities Local Law Number 1 of 2009 for the development of 7 wind turbine wind-powered generating facility, the project, and whereas on June 9, 2010, the town board passed a resolution accepting its role as lead agency pursuant to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act and its implementing regulations at 6 NYCRR Part 617 collectively referred to as seeker, and whereas after preparation of both draft and final environmental impact statements on November 12, 2014, the town board accepted as complete a final environmental impact statement. And whereas on January 19, 2015, the town board adopted a finding statement pursuant to seeker for the project. And whereas on June 24, 2015, the board received a submission from the project sponsor outlining 2 minor modifications which the town board determined not to require a supplement environmental impact statement since the modifications did not present new significant potential adverse environmental impacts, and whereas the project sponsor is choosing to withdraw their supplemental EIS from consideration by the town and plans to proceed with final permits for the original layout, which has already been approved, and whereas, as they clearly stated in their SEIS, they never gave up the right to build the original layout when they proposed changes to it, and whereas the original finding statement and the town of Enfield Wind Energy's facility local law are the guidebook for what has to be performed to comply with their permit conditions, now therefore be it resolved that the Black Oak Wind Farm decommissioning plan be approved. Can I get a second? No one wants to second?
I just got some more information tonight that I want to review before I vote on that.
All right. No one wants to second. So I'm also going to put on the table another motion. Whereas a predecessor in the interest of Black Oak Wind Farm LLC, the project sponsor filed a site plan application with the town board of the town of Enfield, the town board pursuant to the town of Enfield's Wind Energy Facilities Local Law Number 1 of 2009 for the development of a 7-turbine wind power generating facility, the project, and whereas on June 9, 2010, the town board passed a resolution accepting its role as lead agency pursuant to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act and its implementing regulations at 6 NYCRR Part 617, collectively referred to as SEEKR, and whereas after preparation of both draft and final environmental impact statements on November 12, 2014, the town board accepted as complete a final environmental impact statement. And whereas on January 19, 2015, the town board adopted a finding statement pursuant to SEEKR for the project. And whereas on June 24, 2015, the town board received a submission from the project sponsor outlining 2 minor modifications which the town board determined did not require a supplemental environmental impact statement since the modifications did not represent new significant potential adverse environmental impacts. And whereas the project sponsor is choosing to withdraw their supplemental EIS from consideration by the town and plans to proceed with final permits for the original layout, which has already been approved. And whereas, as they stated clearly in their SEIS, they never gave up the right to build the original layout when they proposed changes to it. And whereas the original finding statement and the town of Enfield Wind Energy Facilities Law local law are the guidebook for what has to be performed to comply with their permit conditions. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Black Oak Wind Farm landscaping plan be approved. Could I get a second?
In lieu of a second, could I make a comment?
You can comment.
My concern with both of these resolutions is that they reference changing from the Plan B back to Plan A, and at this point, I don't have enough of a sense in myself that Plan A is actually Plan A anymore. Again, going back to where the substation is going to be. So I really feel uncomfortable that I would agree with either one of these resolutions until we've solved the issue of whether or not the Plan A is still Plan A, or if it's maybe A plus or A minus or whatever it might be at this point. So I just don't feel like I can vote to approve these without understanding what's really going on there, because there's too much language in the resolutions that actually reference that it's going to be the same plan, and I don't know that it is anymore. So to me, it's supporting the idea that it's the same plan when I don't know it is. I can't do that.
Can I get a second? Okay, can't take action. We'll go on to the next item on the agenda.
Didn't Michael and Rose have a motion on the floor already?
It was taken care of.
They took over.
It was voted on.
And it passed.
In your packet, we built a garage, a highway facility a number of years ago, and we have to pay the money back. I'm putting forth this resolution, whereas the town of Enfield borrowed funds to construct our highway facility and now needs to pay back the bond, now therefore be it resolved that the bookkeeper is authorized prior to October 15, 2016 to wire $17,821.88 for an interest payment to the depository trust company which holds the bonds. Could I get a second?
Second.
Could you give it a number, Alice?
2016, 60. 60.
60. Any discussion?
Interest payment, is it just interest? There's no
Yes.
principal?
Principal was made in April.
Gotcha.
Don't ask me, that's how it's
That's okay.
split up.
Thank you. I just wanted to understand.
$17,000 in interest?
Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, I think we paid 30 or 40 in principal earlier in the year. You can check your,
You're in the wrong business.
Thank you. Business.
and there's a lot more years on it.
Yeah.
Lot more years on it. Any other discussion? It turns out, I thought you only had to have 1 day for an overnight transfer, but you gotta have 2 days, and the bookkeeper doesn't think she would have that if we didn't do this until the regular meeting. Any more discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant? Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson Miles?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye. And then in your packet is a tentative 2017 budget. Yesterday, I did get the I got the total assessed evaluation of the town of Enfield. So I plugged in that number at the end. However, I did not do the tax rate. I did a 2% salary increase for all positions. I checked with insurance and health insurance, property insurance, and the health insurance numbers are firm. The property insurance numbers are not firm till I talk to the insurance agent next week. This was his best judgment yesterday. I based income on last year's income as well as to-date income to see if I had guessed right last year. It does not include $5,000 to renovate the town hall. It does not include any of the highway superintendent's machinery requests. State retirement is based on the estimate they gave me online.
know you gave us a calendar in terms of how to deal with this, but would you mind just going over that real quickly? Just so we could.
Yeah. The budget officer, which in the town of Enfield's case is the supervisor, has to give the town clerk a tentative budget by September 30. Then the town budget, and then the town clerk has to present the tentative budget to the town board at a regular or special town board meeting to be held on or before October 5th. And then we have to have a public hearing on the budget. It has to be adopted prior to
$11.20,
seems like 11/20, but
November 20th.
The final budget has to be adopted.
Now, this board chose not to adopt a law to override the tax cap. The tax cap that was given to us by the state is .06, basically zero.
Can I make a statement about it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not an actionable item. It's a discussion. There were a couple of board members who wanted to see it prior to me giving it to the town clerk. It's a document in flux. And
Right, we'll change it as we go along if we want to.
yes,
Yeah.
and can be changed before Friday.
It can be changed before Friday, but it can be changed after Friday as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In my mind, and this may be just kind of idealistic, but I would like to see us keep the budget either at or below last year's budget level, if at all possible. It looks like we're very close, $50,000 away or whatever it is, so we're not very far away.
What do you mean?
Well, if
Under or over?
Under. I'd like to be at or under last year's budget level if we could be. I think it will make a statement to the people of the town that we're really working toward making this happen. So I would like to work as a board to try and make that happen if we can. Right now, we're at $1,364,732. Last year was $1,317,000. So we're talking about the range of $50,000 there, which isn't an awful lot. But if there's any way that we can bring that down to that same level, I think we would. I think we'd be making a statement. I think it would be meaningful to do.
Well, the only choice is in salaries. You do not have a choice in retirement. You do not have a choice in property taxes or insurance, property insurance and liability. You don't have choices there.
We have a choice in the highway department budget as well.
You have it in both budgets. Personnel is a choice.
Right. Well, there's other things in the highway department budget that are choices too.
Yes, there are a few things that are choices.
Yeah, well, it seems like there's a number that we could, there's a number of large items in the highway department budget that we actually do have a
Yes.
choice about.
Yes.
So,
The inter-fund transfer. And bridge repair.
Pardon?
And bridge repair. And contractual.
What's up with this diesel and gas fuel? It was 9,000 back here, and then it's 40 and 40.
Are you not a member of America?
Well,
will this be on the agenda for next meeting?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I mean,
So we'll have time to look at it.
Yeah, I appreciate seeing it. I haven't got a chance to look at it.
It's
in
great,
detail.
great to have it ahead of time. Yeah. It is a plus.
fuel's been going down.
Thank you for putting the
Right.
date on it.
Fuel's been going down.
But back here.
But that was not always the case, I don't think. My recollection was it always wasn't the case.
What wasn't?
That gas went down. The price of gas
Move
went
things from
down.
different areas of the budget.
We can discuss the details of these at the next meeting.
I think we can discuss the details until it's time to vote on the
But it
final budget.
just says
We can discuss it.
Diesel, gas. and
This
fuel.
is what's it called, tentative, and then there's a preliminary.
Tentative, and it gets moved to preliminary.
Right, and then at some point it'll
And
be.
then after the public hearing, it's moved to final.
I think there was a lot of sticker shock after last year's
Yeah.
budget. And so and we've got, aside from the wind farm, we all got a lot of comments.
Yeah.
And I think that was the second biggest thing that was affecting, or maybe it's the first biggest thing, depending who you talk to, affecting the town.
Surprised that
You know, was that jump
wanted to approve the
necessary?
landscaping
What
plan when
what does it take to run the town?
Alice said that
In other
the
words,
landscaping
that
plan
30% get us to a point where that's the real number, that's the real budget it takes to run a town? Were we,
they don't meet the requirements.
were we
That's-
working on budgets that
that's-
didn't properly?
That's a question that's much more complicated
Yeah.
than you could say right now.
I guess it's
It really
more-
is a lot more
I
violent.
guess it's more rhetorical than
It is.
I'm sorry.
There's anything.
Could you say it again?
After last year's budget, where everyone got sticker shock on the jump in the budget, I guess the question is, and it's more rhetorical or just to put it out there, is like, what does it take to run the town? In other words, were we not creating budgets in previous years that required all the money to run the town, and now that 30% last year jumped us to the point where that's where we should be?
There were
to
some
properly run the town?
mathematical errors.
There were some mathematical.
In the past, yeah, and
Yeah.
that was part of it.
$1 million budget should be hired out, but the town doesn't choose to do that. So you got a work in progress here.
Yeah. And I know that sticker shock was, you know.
I think we
felt-
have some long meetings ahead,
Yeah.
probably. Not that we don't have them already, but.
I guess I asked because should we be going back, looking at the 2015 number and say that's where we should be?
And
Or is
back.
that, or is this 2016 really where we should be?
We
and
should
that
go
jump-
back to
and that jump-
2014.
And that jump was a one-time pain that we had to do.
It was actually not that, no. It wasn't only that.
And I realize there was
Yeah, it
mistakes
had,
and other things. but-
what it should look like is that this number should have been higher, which would have made, I mean, this number, if you look at here,
Right.
$1,039,000,
And we-
that's 2014. 2015 was less than the
Right.
budget of 2014. Budgets don't go down typically.
Expenses don't go down.
Expenses don't go down, right.
And that should have been higher.
So this should have been higher, which would have made this lower.
That
Yeah.
lower, I mean,
Yeah.
each year it should have been.
More of a
maybe-
gradual.
I mean, my
gradual
first
increase.
mistake was not keeping the budget at a 2% increase. That was my first mistake.
There's a lot to talk about, it really is. We're not gonna get it figured out.
The other
Unless we understand.
choice is, or the other way you can make a difference in a budget is asking the employees to pay part of their health insurance, which has been roundly booed.
Yeah.
The total assessed value did go up, not as much as it has in the past. So I don't know, when somebody does the division, how it'll come out.
Yeah. Well, it's great to have time to look at it. I think it actually, if you spend a couple, 3 hours with it, it kind of opens up and says, oh, this is what's going on. And it really is, it takes a while though, unless you do it every day, but it really is interesting once you start looking at the different things, especially you compare them to the past. So,
Yeah, especially if we compare number of jumps or increases. or
What went up, what
decreases.
went down, why did it go up or down, you know, what was the winter like that year? There's a lot of stuff to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'll probably be focusing on some of those outliers.
And then you have to make guesses on what the coming year is gonna be like. That's one of the things that Buddy tries to do with his budget. He can't really figure out the weather, but he can figure out what kind of shape his equipment's in and what's gonna be.
Henry asked why there's two total assessment values. Jay's, the last page.
Yeah, it
Jay's
says-
out of town. Jay Franklin, the assessor guy, is out of town till tomorrow. The way I read the total assessment, I don't know why, but there is a different number for fire protection.
It's probably a different line item into county.
Well, I don't know what the big, some assessments are not able to be taxed for a fire, for fire district.
Okay.
And Jay could tell me off the top of his head, I don't know. I noticed that, but I looked back and I think I gave you the piece of paper.
And the fire protection district has been pretty consistent.
Oh,
across-
yes,
across-
yes, that's very
That's-
consistent.
So that's helpful to have that.
Yes. Well, there's not many numbers to work for them. And so you don't have much discretion.
Well, they also have a lot of people to help with the process of equipment, so they've managed to have the time to figure out the best way to buy new fire trucks, new machinery, how to put them in the lease situation so that they can keep their budget consistent.
Oh, yes.
So it's difficult for Buddy to do
They've
that.
had
So,
volunteers who have managed
Exactly.
our fire company very, very well over the years. But we also have a contract with them, and so it's a set amount. Now, next year, that contract ends, and, you know, we have to have discussions with them. So if there are any, so I gave you, I think, the thing from the assessment department. It's landscape. It's on its side, the numbers. This. And the way I read it, as little as I can. There's total assessed values on the fire department versus town. Jay will call me back.
Okay. Yeah.
Make sure I have it right. But I think on the previous budgets, it shows up as different too, doesn't it?
There's only 2 pages, right? Or is that 2 copies?
Yeah, from the assessment
Okay, well, I
department.
have 2 copies of it. I was like some-
Oh, and Henry, I
Oh,
have,
maybe you have Virginia's. I haven't
Oh.
seen that, so I don't know,
Do you have-
but she doesn't have any.
Well, the fire department assessment is the higher one, right?
no. Well, see, it's different every year. It's
No, on
different
this-
than
yeah,
the
on this one
town.
it's lower. Huh.
Did I copy it wrong? No, I didn't copy it wrong. Maybe I did copy it wrong. Maybe it's not 210. He'll call me tomorrow. I'm
Oh,
sure.
those are mine.
I certainly will check with him before I go very much further to see that I put the total assessed value in correctly. Oh, and the reason that the town of Enfield has different tax rate with the county than other towns is because a long time ago, we said we didn't want to get sales tax, a portion of county sales tax. I don't know the term. I saw Jay right after you asked the question. Other towns take a portion of the county sales tax.
So that's why they have a much lower rate per thousand.
Yeah, yeah, and we don't. Which, this past year especially, has turned out incredibly well for us. The sales tax is way down,
So I've heard.
not just in this county. It's not as far down as this county as, for instance, Broome. Motion to adjourn?
Can I ask a question? Are you going to have another special meeting before October 5th to present this to the town board? Or are you
That's your
presenting?
job. That's your job.
Well, are you presenting this to me tonight as the
No,
tentative budget?
No.
Presenting
I'm,
this-
I'm going to send it to you on Friday, September 30th.
The question, does presenting this to the town board need a special meeting, or can that be done through email and also make it publicly available?
Well, that's why I copied that page and circled it. It says the town clerk presents the tentative budget to the town board at a regular or special meeting to be held on or
Oh.
before October 5th.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
sounds
So
like
we
a
have to,
special meeting.
have to
Why isn't
schedule
this
another one.
presenting it?
I could present it, if Ann wanted to present this tonight to me, I would present it to you tonight.
Can we do that?
Oh, sure.
Let's do that.
Thank you.
I mean, do you envision any changes
So
to
this is the
between now
official
and then?
tentative budget.
Oh, I'll
then.
bet you.
Yeah.
I'll
I'm
bet
sure there'll
you.
be- oh, wait,
This
can-
tentative budget.
Right, and so this will go out as the tentative budget on the
I think
website.
it's great as a tentative, and we'll just keep working on it.
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll go from there.
thank you.
So somebody want to make that motion?
Tell me what to move.
To adjourn.
Oh, don't we have to make a motion to present this and then?
No, I'm just saying, Ann's presented it to me, I'm presenting it to you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
you're welcome.
I wish everything was that simple.
So now you can
That
adjourn.
would be nice.
Are you doing public comment period?
Oh,
There will be a
No.
public meeting on the budget, you know, after there's a final tentative budget. or something.
I do not believe, it is not on the agenda.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll second that one.
no public comment.
Oh, yeah, was there gonna be another privilege of the floor, or is that after?
Ann says it's not on the agenda.
It's not on the
No.
agenda.
Okay.
You guys want to chat? Feel free.
So Marguerite was right. I'd like to restate my statement earlier. Marguerite was absolutely correct. It was not because of emergency calls where they called, I don't know if they were ever called emergency calls.
They're called good intention calls.
See, she knows, she talked to Roger. She did talk to Roger
No,
about this.
I talked to
You talked
Lee
Roger,
Schertzer.
too. You did talk to Roger too. Let's
I
be fair.
have talked to Roger.
Because Roger did talk to us and said he talked to you. But anyways, so even if they're good intention calls, my point was you're rolling the truck out. No matter what the call is, you don't know if it's good intention. Every call we have, you never know what kind of call you're gonna get. The dispatcher dispatches information, you go to the call and you never really know 100% if that caller is accurate